The Docin Queen. Here is a true story as related by a Mill Hill missionary, Reverend Father John Rooney.
If you wander round Kota Balud and the Ulu Ranau, you likely to hear stories from old people about legendary Kadazan Queen who lived in the interior. The stories you hear nowadays are full of fable and myth, and you are liable to think that there is no truth in them. You might think them fairy tales to send children off comfortably to sleep, or moral tales to teach teenagers how they must behave. It came, therefore, as real surprise to me to learn that this Kadazan Queen did actually exist, and not very long ago. Her name was Dintas, and she held court, far from present-day Toggenburg. The little information we have about her comes from a letter written in 1882 by the Reverend Father Thomas Jackson, 2nd Prefect Apostolic of Labuan and Borneo. Father Jackson heard of Dintas from pioneer Borneo explorer, Francis Whitty, a Catholic who wanted the mission to be great success with the Kadazans. Whitty was born in Hungary of good Catholic parents, but he was orphaned at a very early age, and soon came out east to fend for himself, to seek fortune and perhaps fame. In the course of his travels he became very careless about his religion, but he always loved it, and, when in 1881 the fathers first arrived in Borneo, he was most anxious to return to his duties, to straighten out his marriage and to put his very considerable knowledge of Borneo at the service of the mission. It was his view that the Kadazans should be the first natives of North Borneo to receive the good news, and he told Father Jackson that to convert the Kadazan he must first gain the goodwill of the legendary Dintas, but he should start his first real work in Tempasuk. In 1882, therefore, Father Jackson made a trip into the interior to meet Dintas, and we discover from his letters something of the power of the great lady. She was not a queen such as is described in story books. She did not have an army, and she did not sit on a throne. She did not rule like a government through laws and taxes. She reigned throughout the interior by her sheer force of character and personality. When Father Jackson arrived in her kampong, she was not at home. She was with the other women, working in the fields, and her husband entertained the prefect while a messenger was sent to tell her of his arrival. Father Jackson was anxious immediately to discuss his mission and the reason for his visit, but she would have none of this. First there must be a great banquet and dancing to welcome this strange visitor from the west. Only when everybody was washed, fed and comfortable could they listen to his message. It was early morning before he was finished, and Dintas listened to what he said carefully and without interrupting him. While Father Jackson had been speaking, he had noted that the people were happy enough, but a great number of them bore the scars of smallpox and suffered from irksome skin diseases. He ministered to them with ointments and medicines he had brought along with him, and many exclaimed with relief when they felt the benefit of his healing hands. Dintas watched and listened, and then she gave her judgment. "Tuan Padre," she said, "we have listened to your message and we think it is a good message. We must hear more of it, but, if you send us priests, let them have healing hands. The Kadazan will respond in the souls if you heal the bodies." Dintas herself never became a Catholic, and it was to be many years before missionaries were sent to the interior, but her words were prophetic. For the first two really successful missionaries to the interior were Father Martin Connolly and John Quinn. They were very different characters, but they had one thing in common. Both were keen students and practitioners of homeopathy. They were certainly missionaries with healing hands.
Father John Rooney is the author of the book Kabar Gembira, or The Good News in Malay, and published in 1981 in conjunction with the 100 years of the propagation of the Gospel in Borneo. He has practical experience of mission work in Sabah. He was the first Mill Hill missionary to be expelled from Sabah in the early 1970s, after he had founded a new mission station deep in the interior of Sabah. His love for the church in Sabah and Sarawak speaks volumes in his well-written, entertaining and informative work.